what I'm doing is making sure that this blending stump is flat down on the paper. The angle at the tip of the blending stump is flat with the paper. That way it spreads over a large surface. And when I want to get tight corners like I did here on the nose, I just held it at a point. I held it more straight up so I could use the point of it. And the blending stump is much like a pencil. You press down when you really want the color to be a little more dark or saturated, I guess, for lack of better words, and you lighten the pressure when you want it to be lighter, just like you would a pencil. When you get to these dark areas, I recommend not making big strokes across it, because that dark will carry out and you'll lose your shape. Like this little mark here, I want to keep it the same shape, so I'm not going to go outside of it I'm not going to drag this black out by making broad strokes across it. But I do want to blend it in, so I'm going to just go in it a little and drag it out. And this blending, you'll notice it does kind of blur your features. So you just go back in with your pencil and kind of touch them up. And this is basically just another layer, one of the many steps of drawing. And sometimes when you want to go, like this area is really white, I don't want to drag any of this dark that I just did up here into this, so that's why I got this out. Just wipe it off. See all that was on there? That would have really messed everything up if I accidentally went down in there. Even if I didn't press hard, it would have dragged it. So make sure you have something to wipe it off. I usually wear a pair of pants that are my charcoal drawing pants, and I just wipe it on my leg and keep going. But for the sake of this video, because I do have those pants on, for the sake of this video so you can see what I'm doing, I got that rag. Yeah, when you draw with charcoal, you pretty much have to have charcoal clothing because you're going to get it everywhere. And I wear it for convenience. Like I like me to just wipe it on my leg and keep going. But charcoal gets everywhere. I've even gotten it on my face because I forgot it was on my hand and I scratched my face or touched my face. Not all the time, but you know, these things happen, so just be prepared. And I'm trying not to blend everything out too smooth. I still want it to have that grainy, rough kind of texture because this is fur and not something like skin, or if you were drawing a car, you would try to get it as smooth as possible because the paint on the car is going to be sleek and shiny. This is not the case. I am basically just laying down a layer of gray. I'm going to go in and tweak it. Here I'm not necessarily getting any detail. I know you saw me just stop and try to do some white there, but that's because I don't want to lose that area. I don't want to forget that that is my light area when I go back in, because I'm kind of at the point to where I'm not looking back at the reference anymore, because this is kind of the common sense part and the creative part. And see, I'm just making random crazy strokes because this is fur, and I'm just trying to make sure I keep it in the direction that it's coming from, or that it's going in, because if I just go through here doing this or making big sections and going in every direction, it'll show and it will look terrible. To keep from having harsh lines where you, like I was explaining before in the fur, I was doing the scribble from left to right, and then you go above it and scribble from left to right and make kind of like rows of shading. I kind of just did that here, and you could see that harsh line. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there was a harsh line. I'm going to do it again so you can see. Okay, see? There's kind of a contrast, a stark contrast between the light area here, the dark, and then there's a light area here, but you can kind of see that line where I stopped. What I'm doing is I'm holding my stump just so I'm just not holding it, but I'm pressing it I'm just barely pressing down, and I'm just moving that gray over to kind of blend it in. I'm just kind of going over it lightly and making short strokes. I'm not scribbling back and forth. This is one stroke. I'm picking it up. And that's how I blend that out. And I wasn't worried about the contrast on this side because, as you see, I had to go back and darken it anyway, because I just looked over there and I realized, oh, okay, this is the dark part of his face. Because I didn't do this all in one session. I'm actually coming back to this. I started this yesterday. I'm sorry, the day before yesterday. And I'm also noticing this little triangular part, well, this little triangular part of his nose is supposed to have a gap because you can't see the triangle here, so I'm going to have to go back and lighten that, which is not a problem. I just get my eraser and make some crazy movements because you don't want it to be too uniform. I just lighten it. I kind of go into the triangle a little bit to make it look like the fur. Because, you know, there's no actual triangle on his nose. I equated the shape with a triangle to help me draw it. And that's what you do when you draw, and you find the shapes, and you kind of tell yourself. I have told myself, oh, that eye, well, no, when I draw lips, I say it kind of looks like a bow and arrow. The bow of the bow and arrow. And I try to draw it like that. Or I say, oh, that eye kind of looks like a seal, or this is like a triangle with a long cone at the top, or something like that. You equate it with shapes, and that helps. And you see what I mean by charcoal is messy? It's not like I have charcoal all over the house and everywhere, but it can easily spread around if you're not careful. I have several outfits that have been marred by charcoal because I come home sometimes and I just go straight to drawing. And see, I just did this dark part and I'm done with that. I need to start blending, so I'm going to wipe. And you rotate it. You wipe, spin it, wipe, spin it. You know, you rotate it around as you wipe, or else you're just going to wipe one side and then you're drawing and you accidentally roll it and you go back into that dark and you see the biggest mess you've ever seen. And this is all stuff I've done, so I hope I'm helping you to keep from doing the same thing I did. And see how it's not putting down any dark because it's not loaded anymore. I'm just blending what's on the paper. I'm not blending in what's on this stump. And it's starting to get loaded again, see? It picks up what's on the paper and it moves it around, but if you wipe it off, there's nothing on it, so you're blending just what's on the paper for a few seconds until it picks it up again. And this one has already started picking up again. It's totally clean now. I didn't have to wipe it to get into this white. See, there's not really anything on it. I'm really just blending out the lines that are already here. I'm just looking for areas that look a little too grainy, and I'm just smoothing them out. because the tooth of the paper and charcoal will leave some graininess, which can be smoothed out with a blending stump. And see how that is there? Just a little, just some random like strips of white with gray and black. That's what I need to do here, here, in this nose area. So I'm just gonna go back and do it when I finish this layer. I want to keep his eyebrow area here white, and I need to add it over here too. I noticed when I was looking back at my video, I didn't do it on the other side. I don't think I realized what I was doing when I was drawing it, but when you look back at yourself, especially on a video, you realize, oh, that's what that is. Oh, I have that. It's good to take pictures of your work if you're drawing, especially a portrait. I take pictures and I look back at them, and then you can see your mistakes. Sometimes you feel like you've been looking at it too long and you don't really see anything, so it's good to step back, take a picture, and look. And then you realize, oh, okay, that's what I need to change, especially if you're getting stuck. Or, oh, I forgot to do that. I'm looking forward to doing these eyes. They're not going to be completely white like this. I want to put some depth into them, like into both of them. Like I said, with this nose, I want them to be similar, so the portrait, well, the drawing has symmetry, because I do want it to look as realistic as possible. I'm going to save that nose for last because it has a lot of black in it. And sometimes you can dip. You can get a little black out of there and go somewhere and put a little bit of dark if you don't want it to be too much dark. That was just a little side note. And I'm going to hold it straight up because I want to get right in this line. I don't want to widen it. So for tight, narrow areas, hold it straight up and just use the point of your blending stump. And I want to blend outward, but I know I have too much black on here because of that dark line, so I'm going to come back and do it. I'm not going to do it right now. But for now, I'm just smoothing out these areas on his mouth. Okay, I basically just erased. And be careful when you wipe like this. I'm trying my best to just barely touch the paper because you don't want to get your finger oils on it, because that holds, just like I said, moisture holds your charcoal or graphite, your media. I think that's the right word. So anyway, I'm careful when I wipe it so I don't smear my finger oil on it and make it to where it's blotchy and a mess. So now I've pretty much erased in a circle there because the straight lines went out further than I wanted them to. It's more white than gray, and I had a little more gray than white. So I brought this down to the shape that I want, and now I'm going to go in with a brand new eraser so I can have this point. I'm just going to mark upward into it to make it look like fur. Because this dark area is actually just his lip with fur coming up under it, and there's shadows, so the white fur is kind of going over it because it's kind of a shadow. I hope I explained that right. And of course, as you're doing this, you're going up into the black, so when you come back to do it again, I'm dragging this down here, which is that. There's no problem, you just erase it. I saw that happening and I said, oh, that's not a problem. I can just erase it afterward. So you just keep going. And sometimes I have a brush, which I don't know if I have it in here. Yeah, I do. I have a paintbrush to get eraser marks. That is sometimes helpful, but don't rely on the paintbrush because it also moves your charcoal. So you might end up pushing some dark charcoal into the light area. So I kind of use it, I'm using it now to kind of just pick it up. I'm putting it down and dragging it a little, and I'm picking it up and putting it down, dragging it like that. I'm trying to push that stuff back, push all the eraser shavings back, or eraser dust backward. And try to blow the stuff off as much as you can without wiping it. But make sure your mouth is dry and your lips are dry so you're not spitting on it. His chin is still too big, so I'm going to bring it up just a little, and I think I will just use my blending stump because I don't want a lot of color. I'm going to wipe it just in case. Yep, I'm glad I did. It was pretty black. And I'm just making vertical lines. I don't want to go straight up and down because that's going to be darker, and you're going to have a dark area here and light over there, so I have to keep it flat. It was an instinct to turn it though just now. Okay, now I have another problem. Now you can't really distinguish between his chin and the shadow up under his chin, which is also still an easy fix. What I'm going to do is go in a little bit with a little more pressure and do the same thing. And I'm rotating this stump because as I rotate it, I find another spot that has a little more charcoal on it. See there? You can tell where I rotated it. There's a little more there, so I'm going to come back and rotate. Just get all of that out of here. There's a lot of little tricks to using a blending stump. It can really save you some trouble because trying to do this with a pencil would have been tedious, to say the least. And then I'm just blending this out because you can see where I went in and did that. See that line right there where it's dark? Well, you can't see, my shadow is there. Where it's dark here and lighter there. I hope you can see it. I'm just going to blend it in. Okay. And I just looked at the reference and I see that he has a little bit of a jowl area right here. So I'm just going to put some white in there, just a little. And this one already has it. I'm going to wipe this off too. Not too close to that black, because if I get it in here and then drag it, that's going to be a mess. And see this here that looks like it was just the charcoal pencil acting crazy. It was, but that actually needs to be there. My hand is shaking because I'm trying my best to get right in there and get it right. Kind of like when you're trying to thread a needle. You're trying your best to get it there and you start, okay, I can do this. But my hands shake every time I draw, and it's not a nervousness, it's just, I think it's just the excitement of getting it done, and just that talent kicking in. I like to think that it's God, because my talent is from Him, that power coming in, you know. I'm just a human. There's a lot of power kicking in. Because I look back at a lot of things I drew and I'm like, wow, God, you did that. And that's where having a relationship comes in. A relationship with God is very important. These are His gifts and talents. Why not invite Him in when you use them so He can show you how to use the gifts and talents? Because like I said, I didn't go to school for art, but I feel like I'm good enough to say, hey, I'm just as good as some artists that went to school, might be better than some. And that's not to brag on me, that's to brag on the power of God and what He's done and how awesome He is. Not just what He's done, what He is doing actively, even now. So this is a nice kind of fellowship with God. I like drawing because He's with me. He's with me all the time, but you can really feel it when you're drawing. When you're using something that God has given you, you can tell when He's there with you and He's guiding you. And it's nice. And I believe that is what is so important in the part that I was saying that, well, I don't know if I said it, but I think that's important in the aspect of this being a stress reliever and a way to get out of depression. And I know that for a fact, that drawing and beading and singing and all these other things, these gifts and talents can help you pull you out of that. So before you get absolutely fed up and tired, you know, go grab a sketchbook. They're $5 in Michael's for the hardback sketchbooks. The Strathmore paper pads are always on sale, or there's always some kind of coupon. Between Hobby Lobby and Michael's, you'll get a drawing pad, even Walmart. and just try. You don't have to draw anything in particular. If you know how to draw stick people, draw stick people. And then maybe the next time, over time, not next time, but over time, you can expand on that. And you'll be surprised. And pray and ask God, and He will show you if that's what He has for you to do. I like that nose. And see, I wasn't really thinking, I was thinking about what I was talking about. And God was taking the wheel. Oh, I finally said that. Okay. Let me get off that subject because I know some people get offended. But if it comes up again, I will bring it back up. I don't care about being offensive. If you don't want to, you know, if you get offended, this probably isn't for you. Just a thought. It's not to be offensive, it's just the truth. Yep, I like that. But I do want to put that line back because he does have kind of a dark area that kind of lets you know, okay, this is where his nose starts, because his fur and his nose are like almost on the same level, but his fur thins out as it gets closer to his nose. All right, now let's see, what do I want to do next? Let's go in and darken those eyes. Let's sharpen this up just a little. Oh, this thing always gets lead stuck in it. It might be in it now. Let me see. Nope, I think it's clear. Yep. Guess I should put this back on so it's not a mess. I took it off the right one. Wrong way. Maybe I shouldn't do it over, yeah, don't do it over your picture. You don't want charcoal dropping down there, and even if you blow it, sometimes it'll smear. Okay, so I'm just going to use this first. That's probably what the problem was. I forget about this sharpener. This is one of those sharpeners that gives you that really long point. See? Let me see if I can show you the difference. See, it's designed to give you a long point in the wood area and then a long drawing point. I think it was expensive. Not terribly expensive, I guess, for most people, but for me, I thought a sharpener should be like a couple dollars. I think this might have been $7 or $8 on Amazon. It might be cheaper now. I got this years ago. See the difference? It gives you that long point in the long wood area. And that's because I see a lot of people draw online and their point is like out to here, and I had one but I broke it recently. Just this drawing part, the charcoal or the graphite, sticks all the way out to here, and they use like a hand sander to make it a point, and they draw with that long piece of, I'm going to call it a piece of lead. That way they can have that much of an angle, sort of like the blending stump. They can kind of turn their pencil like this and cover a large area, and I guess it's more precise. Getting all the eraser dust from up under here so I don't end up with, you know, in school you would get the leaf and put it up under and you mark over and you can see the leaf. Well, you don't want that with eraser dust on your drawing, and that's precisely what will happen if you leave it up under there. So now, I wasn't supposed to make this sharp, but that's okay. And see, I have a line up under the eye where nothing can get into it because it actually is a groove down in the paper. So when I go over it, my pencil is going over that groove. Let me see if I can illustrate it. When I drew, this is basically what I did when I drew with my graphite. As I was drawing with my graphite pencil, I drew into the paper and I made a groove like this. So now when I come back with my charcoal or any pencil, I'm just going over it. But I can't get down in there, so you still see this white gap between here, and that's what's happening on this eye. But thankfully charcoal, it breaks up a little bit when you draw, and it, because of its rough edges. Oh, sorry, I got my beading stuff. That's my beading mat, so I've obviously had some beading wire, some beading cord on there. That fell. But with some maneuvering, I can get down in that groove. Sometimes I can't. I wasn't expecting to be able to, but I could this time, thankfully. So that works. All right. And I blow the dust away as I work because it kind of clouds. You think you got the whole surface covered, and you're like, oh good, that's smooth, and then you blow the dust off. Or the dust comes off and you're like, oh, there's a lot of gaps up under there. There was just dust over it. I didn't actually color that in. His eyes are a little more on the kind of lazy side. I wanted the more intent look. I wanted him to look a little more dangerous. I am going to go in and darken this. I'm going to darken his pupil. And I'm just going to make it like a C. Like the bottom part of a C, because I want that shine to shine through. And give the eye some more depth. See? And really his eyeball is actually up further in the reference, and I kind of like that, so we're going to do that. If we can erase, I shouldn't have darkened it, and I never do. I was thinking to myself, you shouldn't darken this yet, you should be sure. And I was like, yeah, well, it's fine, because I usually do the pupil last, and I was being hard-headed. There we go. Kind of give him that Family Guy lazy eye look. That half covered, half down eyelid look. Yeah, I like that. Kind of like he's looking up a little bit, but he's not. He's looking right into your soul. Okay. And I'm going to get my hard pencil. And I'm going to put a little bit of this randomness in this eye. I'm going to make sure this is not dark because I don't want to add to it. Okay, exactly what I was trying not to do, I did. I blended the two sections that I had separated together, which is okay because it's easy to erase, especially when you're doing just a gray outline. The gray is easy to erase. It's the black that's difficult. And now I'm just looking back at what I just did and saying, okay, I don't really like that. Let's change that up. And I'm going to bring a little bit of that edge into the eye to soften it. I want to see how that looks. I'm on the fence. Because in the picture, his eyeballs are really jumping out from the black. They're just completely light here. So I don't know if I want to jump out at me or have it darker. First I'm going to finish this gray because I just didn't like that. I'm going to bring down a little bit of that black for a shadow over his eye. Like his eyebrow ridge and eyelashes kind of cast a shadow down onto his eye. And put some fur strips, kind of, some little pieces of fur coming out from here. And I like how this graininess of the charcoal already gives that kind of that texture. So I'm going to leave that. I like that. Let's see if I can enhance it with a little bit more white. Okay. I can still see that graphite line in there. And thankfully graphite erases easy, so that was super easy. I just barely touched it and it came up. I think I want that more like just a division between the black and the white. So. And the same as the blending stump, I'm using my eraser to erase some lines in here, but it does pick up the black, so eventually it stops erasing. When it does, you know it's too full of the black, so you wipe it off. And you're just picking it up, dragging it across, picking it up, dragging it across to pick up that color. Okay, I'm kind of not feeling this side right now, so I'm going to switch to something else. And then when I come back to it, hopefully then it'll make more sense to me. I'm not going to force it. So that's another tip. If you feel like something is not working, leave it alone and come back to it. So I'm going to go back to this eye. I'm going to shrink this pupil because I decided I want them under his lid a little bit. And I'm resting my pinky on here, and I know I'm hot, so I'm going to be oily. So I'm just going to get a piece of paper. Let me see if I can get this. Okay. This paper has something on it, but it's just scrap paper. I drew the blueprints, or I guess the outside, not blueprints, yeah. I drew the outside of a business. It was a commission, and that's what this is. A rough sketch that wasn't quite right. The start of one, anyway. Yeah. I was trying to think, do I want this C to go that way or this way? It can go this way. And to make sure the shine isn't going to be looking crazy. Because you can't make things look cross-eyed if you don't do your shine right. The eyeball shine. I drew a portrait once and I just kept looking like, why can't I get this person's eyes right? And I realized it's because I had the shine kind of like this. Okay, I had the shine like here, and the other shine, I think here. I'm going to color it in so you can see how ridiculous it looked. Actually, I don't know if these are the right eyes. It was something about the eyes that made it to where the shine had to represent the pupil. guess the shine shouldn't have a definite line around it like that, but this is just a rough image. Okay, see how it kind of makes them look cross-eyed? Even though the eyeballs are in the right place. There's just something about that shine, I don't know. To me, it makes it look cross-eyed. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. But yeah, that's crazy. Now I need a new sheet of paper because I don't want to smear that charcoal. So now let's go and drag down some of this around the people. Because if you look closely, you'll notice that people's eyes are, especially when you take a photo, they're not completely white. There's a lot of shadow and stuff in them, and shine and stuff, which makes it not completely white in a picture. If you draw it completely white, it's something about drawing that makes things look, if you're trying to make it realistic, sometimes you have to have artistic license and add things. And that's one of them. If you add shine and a little bit of gray in the eyeball, it looks more realistic than stark white. Even if your subject's eyes are stark white because of lighting or whatever, you still add that in. And I'm just going in and re-whitening this eyeball. Yeah. Because I like how that one bled off, so I'm doing that here. All right, well, thank you for watching. My name is Andris Jefferson, A-N-D-R-I-S Jefferson. I'm on Instagram under ArtbyAndris. I'm on Facebook under Andris Jefferson and also ArtbyAndris. And I also make jewelry, which I mentioned before. I have a page on Facebook that is ArtbyAndris Jewelry. And I also have a Wix site. Okay, well, thank you again for watching. I hope this helps. Bye.